Good morning, and thank you for joining Armanino for today's webinar. This is Mary Tressel, and we are going to be presenting to you Dynamic Insights for Microsoft Dynamics AX. Okay, and before we get started, I'd like to share with you how to use your webinar pane. You'll see the webinar pane in front of you. Please note that the orange arrow will allow you to minimize or maximize the pane. If it is minimized, simply click on the orange arrow to bring it back. Please feel free to submit any questions that you have for our presenters throughout the duration of the webinar, and we will handle those questions at the end of the webinar as time permits. Also, we want to make sure you modify your audio settings. So if you're using the telephone to listen in on our webinar, please make sure you select Use Telephone. If you are listening through your computer speakers, please select Use Mic and Speakers. If you have the incorrect settings selected, it will produce an echo sound. And now I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. First, we have John Van Meter, who's a manager in our Microsoft Dynamics practice. He's a software solution professional with more than 11 years of experience providing guidance on Microsoft Dynamics solutions to mid-market companies. We also have John Dunican, a consulting partner in our CFO advisory practice. He has more than 30 years of financial executive, operations, and consulting experience in both public and private companies. He has also held positions as CFO, VP of Finance and Administration, and Controller. And last, we have John Horner, a consulting partner in our business intelligence practice. He combines 10 years of industry experience with 8 years of consulting experience to apply best practice industry knowledge to data warehouse and BI implementations for a variety of industries, including retail and distribution, consumer product goods, high-tech, manufacturing, professional services, and utilities. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Van Meter to do our presentation overview.
Well, thanks, Mary. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about Dynamics Insights, and we're going to go through just an overview of the solution that we bring to the table here. We'll talk about a customer case study, and then we'll show a demo of two of the critical aspects of this: the budgeting, forecasting, and planning, and then the business intelligence dashboards. All right, so why Dynamics Insights? Well, as we've seen from our customer base in both using Dynamics AX 2009 and AX 2012, we've seen that customers have had a little bit left to desire around financial reporting. The first part of financial reporting, a lot of the AX 2009 users had been using FRX for a period of time, and some of them have even made the transition to Management Reporter. Now, with AX 2012, Management Reporter, is becoming more pervasive and has brought some notable improvements to the table, but it's not always the best for every environment, and so we see a few additional requirements that we're able to address with the Insight solution. When it comes to budgeting, forecasting, and financial planning, this really hasn't been a core strength of Dynamics AX, especially when you have people who are in a mid-market or enterprise type organization, and their financial organization within the company has experience using tier 1 tools like Hyperion or Cognos, and they look at the lack of financial planning and analysis capability in AX as a little bit of a weakness. So what we've done from a budgeting, forecasting, financial planning perspective is really bring a best practice type tool to the table integrated with Dynamics AX. And then from an analytics perspective, Microsoft has an exceptional business intelligence suite, and it's something that every company is using various aspects of the tools and technologies, whether it's SQL Server reporting services or SQL Server analysis services. Excel is an extremely useful tool, and Power Pivot, and a lot of the great technologies that are out there. But what we've really found is that our clients are looking for something a little bit more. They're looking for rapidly deployable templates, both from a data aggregation or queue perspective, as well as a presentation tier that makes it easy to work with the data and really get that deep analysis out of the information that's in their ERP system. And so what we've really focused on is being able to address some of the real-world scenarios of what our Dynamics AX and GP customers are looking for. So what we see from a real-world scenario is that, a lot of times people are using the Dynamics AX ERP solution as their core financial application, core manufacturing, inventory, etc. But there's also other systems that exist in their environment, and sometimes those become critical to their overall reporting strategy as well, such as their HRM system if they're using an ADP or a Workforce Now or some other HRM system. They may be using a CRM application or have legacy ERP applications that they also need to work with and report on. And then what we also see is that companies tend to, have more of a dynamic nature about them. They may make acquisitions in which they inherit additional data sources, additional ERP systems, and there's always that interim period of time between when they're able to merge those operations into a single instance, and so it creates a little bit more of an environment where an abstracted business intelligence strategy tends to fit very well. And then from a overall portfolio perspective, sometimes companies manage independent instances or independent entities which may use different ERP systems in more of a portfolio strategy. And again, having a little bit of an abstraction makes it easier to acquire, divest, start up independent entities. And so what we see is just bringing together this Dynamics Insights tool. It allows us to have that really deep integration to AX with a lot of core capabilities around the FP&A and the business intelligence, but still allows us to expand and address some of the real-world scenarios.
Okay, and with that, we're going to move over to John Dunnican, and he's going to offer us a client case study.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, John. As John said, we've looked at tools to help us more effectively, or help you more effectively, analyze your business, and that's why we've begun to look at tools we can add to the core ERP systems like AX. And one of them we've looked at is adaptive planning. You'll also hear a little bit about ClickView in a few moments. We thought we'd start with a little demonstration of adaptive planning and show you how this works real quickly. But before we do that, I want to spend a minute talking about one of our clients, a kind of a nice case study. I think it demonstrates very nicely how we can use this. The client we're talking about, a particular company, is called Rimini Street, and they essentially provide third-party software support for a number of different applications. They're an AX client. They've been on AX for a few years. Last year, they really started needing additional reporting capabilities as well as better forecasting and budgeting capabilities. So they decided to go with adaptive planning. You'll see why in a few minutes. But Rimini Street, they have 15 users, and it's really enabled them to do very much on-demand budgeting, quarterly forecasting, do reporting for budget versus actual. Allows them to do extensive headcount reporting. They're a services company, so obviously people are by far their biggest expense. And it's even allowed them to really drive down to the point that they actually do weekly cash forecasting, which is really critical to them as they're managing their cash, managing their business. And it enables them to really operate their business on a much more real-time basis without worrying about either doing tremendous Excel files, which is the way they used to do it before, or relying on kind of the monthly cycle that you get through your ERP system. So it's a great example of how we were able to fully integrate adaptive planning with their AX system to allow them to very, very quickly see where they are at any point and do the constant updates for their budgeting forecasting. So it's really kind of a great example of how we've been able to do that. In addition to adaptive planning, we've also done we also integrated them with ClickView, which is the BI tool that John Horn is going to speak about here for a moment.
Yeah, thanks, John. So yeah, in the case of Rimini Street, they have implemented Dynamic Insights within their environment. They've got around about 20 users, and we'll share some of the demo applications here today. We have finance analysis dashboard, an executive dashboard, and a contract sales dashboard. And as we'll discuss a little bit later in this webinar, we have 3 predefined dashboards as part of Dynamic Insights, but in the case of Rimini Street, they were easily customizable, and this is the solution that we implemented for them. So 2 of those were out-of-the-box implementations, with one being more heavily customizable. So it gives you an idea, it allows them to go and interact and integrate data from different systems and drill down and really analyze multiple different systems and multiple different pieces of data together.
Great, and with that, we're going to go back to John Dunican and a demo of the budgeting and forecasting portion of Dynamic Insights.
Thank you. So one of the questions we often get asked, what often comes up when you're integrating systems, is how easy to bring data over. Adaptive planning is great for budgeting and forecasting, but many people also want to use it to do all their reporting on their actual results as well, and do reports like budget versus actual, do their actual reporting, even preparing financial statements for public filings like 10Ks, 10Qs to investors. So that requires us to bring over actual results. So it's often a question of how that happens. And obviously, if you're in a program like AX, that can be an awful lot of information. So what we have here is Dynamics Insight essentially allows us to bring over that information very quickly. And it's a simple little program we run here, and it's just a little app that comes up. And what this app does is it goes out and queries the AX database to bring over all of the updated financial information into adaptive planning. Now we're going into AX and looking over the in this case 2011, 2012 information, and this query runs in about 90 seconds. Compare that to doing an update of all your Excel files, if that's how you do your financial statements, or even if you're updating information through one of the other various tools. 90 seconds isn't very long, although when you're doing a webinar, it does seem like an eternity when you're waiting 90 seconds for this to run. This query can also be scheduled to run at night. So while we've launched it manually here, it can be set to run automatically overnight. So you can set this to run if you want to update your financial statements. You can update it monthly. You can update it weekly. A lot of clients even update it every day if you're using adaptive planning to handle things like daily sales reporting, dashboarding, and that kind of information. So this can either be run manually on demand or automatically. And as we can see here, the query is just about done. So what adaptive does, or excuse me, what this Adaptive Insight does, you can see it launched immediately into adaptive planning. Because it is a separate program. I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about adaptive planning. I really don't have time to give you a full demonstration of it. We're happy to arrange that if you contact us, but I want to at least give you a little bit of sense of what it is. The sheets look a little bit like Excel, and as you can see, we've got a menu across the top here of the various financial statements we have set up in this particular model. And this model has both actual data as well as budget or forecast data. Adaptive allows you to create not only a core budget, but one of the great things about it is it allows you to have as many different versions of the budget as you need. So as you're building the budget, you often have different versions. Likewise, of course, you can do forecasting, and much more effectively, you can do what-if scenarios. So if you're looking at acquisition, if you're looking at a major new customer, if you're looking at best case and worst case kind of scenarios, you can create those very, very easily and report on them, as I'll kind of show you here real quickly in a moment. A little hard to see on the screen here, but all the numbers that are green are actual results. Everything that's black is budget or forecast results. So what we've done is, by just that very quick little app that we ran, we're able to bring in the actual data across to see all the actual results into the model. In addition to the core P&L, we also have, you can create functional P&Ls, and this is based, of course, on your chart of accounts. So it's all based around how you look at your information, your numbers, and you can report on them. More importantly, though, what Adaptive really allows you to do is do very detailed planning. I mentioned Rimini Street as an example. This, of course, is not Rimini Street data, but allows you to do, for instance, very detailed headcount planning. For many clients, headcount is a very, very critical item. As you can see here, we can plan individually every employee we have in the company. You can see real quickly here some of the information we've got. Their names, titles, state of residence, start and end dates. As we come over, if I slide across here, we've got pay rates, commission rates. We have allocations of expenses. So as you can see, this gentleman right here, William Clark, is being allocated across these different levels, or Adaptive calls them levels. I mean, you might call them departments, lines of business, projects, or whatever your particular name is. But these are levels. And these expenses and salaries are all being allocated across these various departments. And you can very, very quickly and easily do those allocations, where if you're doing it in Excel or in any of the other kind of budgeting forecasting tools, that can be a very, very laborious process. Likewise, you can go in and you can plan expenses in a tremendous amount of detail. We're sitting here at kind of the high level, but we build, part of Adaptive is lets you build in your whole organization structure. And as you drill down into your organization structure, you can see that you can bring in this detail expense here, where you can do expense planning just by inputting numbers right here. As you can see, I've dropped $100,000 in here. And that's because, like any good sales group, you can add notes, and that's because this particular company is planning to customer party in Hawaii, and you can just add those notes, and you can see what that expense is, and those notes are visible all the way through the model. Likewise, the things like compensation, these numbers you can see are blue, and that's because the information is coming directly from the personnel sheet I showed you a moment ago. So if you needed, you wouldn't update that here, you'd update that on the personnel sheet. One of the great things about Adaptive is that if you distribute this, give people access to this, if I am in now the Sales North department, if I was a Sales North manager, this is the only data I would see. I wouldn't have access to anything else on the model, only my department. Likewise, when I click to the personnel sheet for this department, I would only see the personnel sheet. Oh, okay. So the personnel sheets I'm in that department now is limited to, before I saw the whole company, now I only see that set of employees that are applicable to my department. So it automatically knows where you are and provides just the level of information that is applicable to your department. You can also, of course, expenses are important, but of course so are sales. Now this particular model is a product model. We also do nonprofits, we do service companies, we do all types of industries, healthcare, virtually any industry you're in. Adaptive planning has done customers in that industry. But you can see here right away for this department, you can plan by any customer you have just by moving from customer to customer. You can move very quickly across the various customers. And for some reason, I apologize, my screen is frozen. There we go. We've got the various, you can do all the different product types. Instead of doing product 1, you can click the product 2, and you can look at a different product, and you can plan at the detailed product level. You can plan units and discounts as appropriate. There we go. You can plan by customer. So it gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility to plan, in this case, detailed product sales, because this is a product company. And of course, one of the things people are always looking for is reporting. As John talked about, one of the great advantages of adaptive planning is the ability to report both not only actual results, but also budget versus actual results. You can create as many reports as you want. You can see we have a whole list of various shared folders. As you move across the various departments, you can give people access to just those reports you want them to see. And you can, of course, I've put some of my favorites here because these are the ones I like to look at. If I click on this monthly variance report, you can see right away that now I've got my actual results, my budget results, and I've got variances. And we can set little flags to indicate, you know, whether you're on budget, you're over budget, whether you have problems. You look at both month and year to date. As we choose to bring in the level of data, when I look at these numbers, I can even go down and say, so if we don't know why you have this amount of money here, this $2,300, we do have the ability to drill right down into this amount as well. And you can see exactly where this is coming from, all the way down right to the department. And as soon as you get down here to the department level, if you choose, you can even drill right into the detailed transactions. So if we bring over transaction level detail, you can see right away exactly what that detail is. So you know exactly why. So this whole model becomes very self-service for the various department heads. So the North Sales Manager, rather than having to call finance to find out, you know, why his expenses are what they are, they can simply click right in the model and instantly have the information. So finance gets freed up from the task of constantly having to distribute reports and answer questions. This becomes very, very self-serve. And we create all of these reports basically to your specifications. It's very, very flexible. So it gives a tremendous amount of ability to report and look at your data in various ways. And with just one click of a button, as you saw, in 90 seconds, we were able to bring over all the actual results from AX or many other systems. But in this case, this product is very focused around AX, and to instantly have that actual data brought into the model and report on it.
Okay.
So we're going to bring it over back to John Horney. He's going to talk a little bit about how, on the AX side for the BI, and how we can do that as well.
Great. All right, and there you are, John.
All right, thanks, John. So we're going to move a little bit now into discussing what is Dynamic Insights from a business intelligence perspective. And so there's really three major components here. There's an automated data extract, transform, and load package, similar to a certain extent to what John was just showing with the movement of data from AX into our budgeting and forecasting piece. There is a predefined Microsoft SQL Server-based data mart for AX, obviously in terms of what we're discussing here, but also for GP NAV. It includes several components: general ledger, sales ledger, purchase ledger, item ledger, and project ledger. And then finally, the piece that is visible for the business users, if you like, which is three pre-designed self-service business user dashboards for executives, finance, and sales. And so if we can move on to kind of visualize this, if you like, in terms of a process.
Yep.
Into the next slide. This kind of walks you through the really the same concept. So we connect into the AX environment and extract data from that environment and move it through this ETL process: extract, transform, and load. So we're transforming the data where necessary. Could be combining data together, cleansing data as we go, enriching data as we go, before finally loading that data into a predefined Dynamics data mart. The data mart is a Microsoft SQL Server-based data mart, which kind of preserves your valuable ERP data that we've talked about, the GL, purchase ledger, and so on, for historical analysis and reporting purposes. It's stored in predefined relational star schema tables, as well as analysis services OLAP cubes, which are optimized for fast, easy query and search and analysis capabilities. It's very extendable, so it's a starter point from an AX perspective in terms of a data warehouse environment. But of course, John Armanino talked about the real-world scenarios where companies might have other ERP solutions in play, or they may indeed have budgeting and forecasting solutions or CRM solutions, whether that be Microsoft CRM or Salesforce. And so easily extendable into including these other data sources and combining them together and extending your data mart, your AX data mart piece, into a more enterprise data warehouse environment. And the final layer is the user interface, if you like. What does the business users see, and how do they navigate around that data from AX and the other combined solutions? And so we have 3 pre-designed web-based self-service on-demand dashboard solutions for executive, finance, and sales teams. These are designed to highlight trends in customer behavior, shifts in growth patterns, product mix, and many other analysis types, which we'll walk you through when we get into the demo here. Very easy to use, fast to design and customize, and really empower your business users with the information that they need when they need it. Okay, so we're going to switch now into the demo mode here. So you can see that I'm starting off live here in my AX 2009 Role Center environment, and really just want to start this off by touching on something that John Van Meter mentioned in terms of how from an AX 2009 perspective in particular, there has been, it was fairly limited in terms of the success that people were seeing with regards to their business intelligence and analysis capabilities. Many people use the Role Center and try to spend a lot of time configuring Microsoft Reporting Services reports and building out applications within here. But we've seen limited success from the customers that we've worked with in this particular environment, and there was always a kind of feeling and a need that they needed to extend their capabilities and you know, really have a more powerful solution for their users. So we're going to start off in this environment, but we have down here our Dynamic Insights dashboard links. So we have one for executive team, finance team, and sales dashboard. And when we click on these, essentially what it does is takes us into a web browser environment. So your users will work in this environment through whatever web browser you have in place. At the moment here we're in Internet Explorer, and really brings you into a multi-sheet environment that is going to allow your users to navigate around the data that we extracted and transformed from AX into our data mart and data warehouse environment. So let's take a little peek at some of the things that we have in play here. So I'm going to kick off in, okay, do apologize, we've lost communication with the server here, so give me a second and I'll walk back into this environment. Just going to open this up again. So I'm going to click into the dashboard page here and just give us a feel for what does Dynamic Insights Business Intelligence look like, and how do our users, business user community, work with it. So you get a feel on the page here. I'll just try and walk you through the component parts. We have some selection capabilities from a time period perspective across the top. We have some selection capabilities, in this case, customer country, item group, and sales rep along the left-hand side. We have a search capability, query and search capability in the top right corner here, and then various visualizations, very customizable, but this is what you get out of the box here. So, you know, looking at item growth in different geographies in the top right corner here, looking at year-to-date sales performance, might be against budget, might be against last year. In this case, we're looking at budget here. Looking at some trending data for sales in this case, very easy for our users to switch their focus, switch their view, if you like, from sales to orders to order count, and really navigate through the application as they see fit. Now, if people want to change the time period, instead of looking at the full year 2011, for instance, and they want to look at the first half of 2011, really easy for them to make that selection, pick Q1, Q2, the first half. You'll see immediately that whatever we're making selections with turns green here, and you should also see that there are whatever is associated, whatever data within our data mart is associated with the selections that we've made is colored as white, and whatever data is unassociated with the selections that we've made is colored in gray. So this allows us within ClickView to do some discovery, data discovery, business discovery, and answer questions that we may not particularly have been looking to answer. So it could be, for instance, that there are some sales reps or some item groups that were not selling in that particular time period that we weren't aware of, and so we should, we can navigate through our data to make those discoveries and find that information out. As we move between sheets here, the selections that we've made here are maintained and are passed through to the next sheet. So we can keep that Q1, Q2 selection for 2011 and move into our overview sheet here, where we get a bit of a view of the product performance, what our top selling products are, what our top countries are, and the sales rep performance and how they contribute to the business, what is the share of the contribution that they're making, as well as some of the customer performance. And this just gives you a feel for some of the different capabilities we have within ClickView in terms of different visualizations, as well as the more standard tabular based approach here. Now if we were wanting to drill into, for instance, our US country and learn a little bit more about how the US is compared to the rest of the world, then we can drill into that. We simply make that selection within the chart or over here within the country, and that allows us to drill a little bit deeper. Now we're looking at the sales for 2011 Q1, Q2 for the country of US. If we want to take this a step further and look at the perhaps the top 3 selling product groups here, then we can look at those, click on those, and immediately that, sorry, I just clicked on that one too many times there. So we look at the top 3 selling item groups, and we can see customer performance for those top 3 selling item groups within the US, within the periods that we've selected. So really easy for users here now to navigate around the data that originated in within AX environment, but they don't have to be analysts here. They don't have to understand query languages. They don't have to work with pivot tables. This is all pre-prepared and designed and defined for them, so that they can simply click on the filters that they want to click on and then navigate between the sheets. So if we wanted, for instance, now to go to a more detailed view of our products, for instance, then we could begin to get a breakdown of the product mix across states, so telling us which states within the US are selling most of these products. Perhaps we want to flip the product group to look at the particular item numbers that are selling. How are we selling this year versus last year, for instance, or this year versus budget, depending on whether your budget goes to that group. And so we can look at different representations of the same data. If we want to drill into the particular speakers, into item numbers, item configurations, and then begin to look at the actual customers that purchase these items, then we have that ability here. Again, the users are able to do an awful lot here without having to go back to IT or finance to generate some new cubes or generate some new tables or views. They're not spending their time on looking for the data and creating the data and generating that data. They're spending their time on analyzing that data that has already been prepared and provisioned and ran through our ETL process and into our predefined data marts and data warehouse. So very easy to navigate within Sheets. Again, as we move between the sheets, we're able to maintain the context and the selections that we've already previously made. So it really easily allows us to look at where we're at here. In some of our tables here, we're able to do some comparisons in terms of this year versus last year, for instance, and really drill in further. If we want to kind of start again with some of our analysis, it's very, very easy to simply clear the selections that we had made, so clear out Q1, Q2, clear out the US. We can either do that on individual selections or clear out the whole set of selections and move between the data. If we want to pick on different data items here and look at a different year, for instance, then it moves the comparison period, gives us different variances. So again, real easy to change those selections. In this particular case, we've got the year as a constant selection. It's always pre-selected. Again, very customizable. We can change this, but should give you a real good idea of where your top customers are and where your products are and various different types of analysis. We have different slices, different views of data here, so we can easily change this from being a pivot table environment to being a straight table environment, which allows us to double click on these column headers to sort these, so we get a picture of our top selling customers in a particular area. Again, if we were to pick a particular region, then that drills into that particular region and shows us the top selling customers for that group. If we pick a particular item group, for instance, then it'll allow us to drill deeper into that. Now we can pick the item group from the left hand side here, but also if we wanted to do a search, our search capability here allows us to search the whole Dynamic Insights data map, and for any text representation of whatever we type in. So if we've forgotten that it's the item group that we want to filter, but we do know that I'm looking for speakers, then we can just start typing, and the Dynamic Insights dashboards here will allow us to filter that data. So now we're looking at our top customers for speakers as opposed to top customers across the whole business. Very easy to use. We've got it sorted in current year sales order. We can obviously sort this on various different elements here, so we could sort this on the variance between different years, which customers have regressed this year versus the previous year, and which customers have advanced and are spending more with us on that particular product category this year versus last year. So real simple to for users, anyone within your organization, to access this through a web browser environment and really do their analysis within what is out of the box here. So I want to do a quick just a couple of other items here within this particular area. So just a slightly different track here, following a similar approach, but we have a particular customer targeting sheet here that allows us to drill into, perhaps we want to look at a particular sales rep here. So I'm going to look at Kevin Brown in particular, and I want to look at the customers that Kevin sold to. And in particular, I want to look at the customers that Kevin sold televisions to. And on the right-hand side here, we have a similar concept where that did not purchase. And I'm going to pick Kevin again. So I want to see if there's any customers that purchased televisions within 2011, but did not perhaps purchase speakers within 2011. And we can see that both of the customers that Kevin sold to here only purchased televisions, didn't perhaps purchase speakers. You know, if there were particular products that we did want to sell together, if that was one of the strategies, product strategies that we had in place, then this would highlight customers who had purchased certain items and hadn't purchased certain other items. So again, we can, for instance, deselect televisions and show you customers that purchased anything for Kevin Brown but did not purchase speakers, and this has the the same capability. So very, very good at being able to build out target lists for customers of where you might go and cross-sell or upsell in your organization. We have, just very quickly here, a couple of other areas that we can look at. I'm going to look at just very quickly here at our reports section. This allows us to allows our users to really build their own queries within the Dynamic Insights data mart. And so if we wanted to, for instance, look at customers and perhaps our sales reps, we can simply click on the fields and the dimensions that we want to show in our analysis. And at the moment it's showing sales current year. If we wanted to add to that sales last year, then we can throw that in there. If we want to add in a sales variance or a sales variance percentage, then very easy for us to throw those in. But this again, even with the power that we have in play within each of the sheets here and the out-of-the-box capability, provides additional capability for our users to go and run their own queries and do their own search within the database. Of course, any of this data, the report that we build here is still able to be filtered by different categories, so we can still choose to filter this by the quarters or the item groups, for instance. So real easy to navigate around, real easy to build your own queries and put these things together. So in the interest of time, I don't want to go too much deeper here. I'm going to hand back very shortly, but I do want to just touch a little bit on our two other pre-designed dashboards. This was the sales dashboard that we have here, but we do have a finance dashboard here that gives us just a slightly different view of the world, again coming from our Dynamic Insights data mart, being fed through the same process. Apologies, this is just this has lost its connection here briefly, so I'll open this up again and go back into the finance side of things. So it allows us to look at some slightly different metrics and slightly different analysis. So for instance, we're able to look here at the accounts receivable and look at perhaps any aging issues that we might have by customer. We can drill into the customers that perhaps have the worst accounts receivables from an aging perspective. So if we want to look at the two worst customers here, we can simply double click on the column header here for 61 to 90 days. It shows us the two worst who still owe us money from prior periods. Various different views of life, but all of that data coming through the same environment, same ETL process, same predefined data mart, giving us views into accounts receivable, accounts payable, and just getting more of a finance view of the world. So I think in the interest of time, I'll hand back to Mary, who's coordinating here, and we'll proceed from that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, John. All right, and with that, I think we are nearing the end of our webinar. So if you have any questions, now is the time to submit them. We also encourage you to use the chat box if you'd like to learn any more about Dynamic Insights, like a follow-up email with more information or phone call. We're happy to reach out to you and give you personalized demo of how it would work in your environment. But I see a couple of questions have come in, so I'm going to move our screen over here to the contact information for each of our presenters. So if you specifically would like to speak with John Van Meter or Dunican or Horner, you can email them directly. But our first question was regarding the use of AX 2012, and if you're on 2009, AX 2009, should we just upgrade our company to AX 2012 to achieve the same capabilities? So John Van Meter, I'd like to pass that to you and get your response.
Sure. Well, thanks, Mary. So, yeah, there are a lot of companies that are on AX 2009 today that certainly have far less business intelligence capabilities and certainly far less budgeting and forecasting capabilities than might be available in AX 2012. But as you can see, it's really not a one-size-fits-all for a lot of people. That there's a lot of great capabilities that you gain regardless of which version that you're on. And, to get the most out of your current implementation of AX 2009, going with a business intelligence and a budgeting and forecasting solution like Dynamics AX brings as a packaged offering is something that is easy to deploy very quickly and at a very low cost when compared to making an upgrade to an AX 2012. So being able to hunker down a little bit and get more out of your current environment is huge. From the AX 2009 perspective, and even those who are already on AX 2012 certainly adds a lot more to the capabilities and the insight that you get out of your business.
Great. Thank you very much, John. Another question we got was whether Dynamic Insights uses the standard Microsoft cubes that the person wrote in. We tried to roll out the Role Center and we're not able to do that successfully. So will we have the same trouble with Dynamic Insights? So John Horner, I'd like to ask you to respond to that.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. So no, the Dynamic Insights does not use the standard out-of-the-box cubes. I think we've found certain limitations. Not just we, but our customers also found certain limitations with those out-of-the-box cubes over the years, and so we have a different approach, and our relational and cube-based data mart that we have in place is really more of a combined approach. I think I mentioned in a couple of the slides there that we're really combining general ledger with sales ledger with purchase ledger, so we get a more rounded view of the data that is stored within AX, and allows us to do more joined up analysis with that data. So now, that being said, if the standard out-of-the-box cubes are of use, then certainly we can leverage that data and incorporate that into the solution. We talked about this solution being very customizable and extendable, so that is certainly a possibility if there was a requirement to do so.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. I don't see other questions, so we're going to give you a little bit more time back in your day. We appreciate you all joining us. And again, on the screen you see our presenters' contact information, so you can feel free to reach out to any of them directly. We do remind you that there is a survey as you exit our webinar, and if you'll take a moment to fill out that brief evaluation, it does help us to put together our best foot forward on these educational webinars and improve our performance. So we look forward to your feedback, and thank you all for joining us.